And in our ring today, we have Andy Peliquin, author of Dinosaur Erotica, and we are honored to have our guest, RG Long, who keeps doing this thing with his finger and it makes me think I'm supposed to be quiet.
No, I keep forgetting that Andy's funny thing is that he writes Dinosaur Erotica, and it catches me off guard every time.
Yes, that is his main thing. He actually makes a lot of money on it, you know.
I mean, you do you, man. That's cool.
We were just talking about how RG has AirPods and how it's just he's flexing on us.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
So be honest, are they worth it? Because now I have been moving over to the dark side.
Okay, so I'm an Apple person. Like, I'm currently looking at my Mac and I have my AirPods in my ears. Like, this is the thing. So I've been told they're not great for music, but what they are great for are phone calls, absolutely no wires, which I love, and the fact that I can dictate to my Apple phone, my iPhone, with it works better than the other Bluetooth stuff that I was using. So yeah, sure, they're worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I wanted to get I actually got a couple of pairs of like the knockoff ones.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But they don't fit in my ear canals properly. So like I can't do the things with them that I want to do. Like I can't work out or I can't go running with them. So basically they're for, you know, when I'm sitting at Starbucks and I don't want to have a cable running to my computer, which is kind of useless.
No, I agree. Like the wireless part of it is amazing, and it's definitely what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Andy, you have my address. You can just send them over to me. Look at this smile. Send it to me.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Jesus Christ looking motherfucker over there.
Whoa. Don't crucify me, man. Oh, Jesus. Dude, we got to step back
quickly.
What's up?
Shots fired. Shots have been fired quickly.
Oh, man.
Well, look at that. The minute that I saw you on today with your hair all beautiful and stuff, I was like, I've got to say this at some point in the podcast.
I don't know.
Do you normally like a ponytail, like man bun it up, or what do you do?
I'll do like I call that my Viking tail ponytail, and then I got pit sweat stains, but that's just, you know what, guys, I have worked 9 hours today, and I feel like I'm just on like a high. It's not that I'm tired physically, not even really mentally fatigued. It's just I'm so shocked that I worked that long today, and I'm talking
9 hour day.
Yeah, I mean, ask Andy. I don't work that long. I just won't allow myself to do it. And no breaks today. But, you know, I was having a lot of fun. And I think I'm blessed to have a job that I really enjoy. And I wasn't even writing. I was working on my other businesses, which, Andy, am I allowed to talk about the news that I have, or we can't do that here?
Do it.
Okay.
We can talk about the cool thing for the week, and this can be your cool thing.
Okay. RJ, so what Andy was just talking about is we kind of
just call him Ronald.
Oh,
yeah, just call me Ronald.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barker.
The J is for Jesus. No, it's
yeah, you're gonna get along here. Well, first of all, everybody go over to RG's Ronald's Amazon page and check out that massive beard.
I do. That was a 2-year beard, man.
That was a badass beard. Although this does look better. Like for the shape of your face and stuff, this is better.
No, I appreciate it. It was a 2-year beard. I didn't care, but honestly, I was using more shampoo like down here than I was up here, and it felt weird.
I use a conditioner on mine.
Yeah. No, I had like beard oil, the whole product, and the stuff. Like, I love comb it in.
I love the smell of beard oil too. I get the tea tree oil. Anyway, but that's not your sister, is it? That's your wife holding onto your arm. I'm guessing
that is my wife of 12 years. Yep.
Whoa! How old?
Yeah, didn't you just?
I'm not old.
A picture of that, like you guys' wedding, like in the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or something.
Yeah, it's been because our anniversary was in August, so it's been recent. How old I am? I'm 33. We got married crazy young and had kids crazy young too. So I've got a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Wait, and how old are you again?
I am 33, son.
Jesus Christ's age.
I am in my Jesus years.
We'll miss you, Ronald.
Yeah, well, it's been fun. It's been a good run.
You, in your picture, I just put it on YouTube for everyone to go check out your Amazon, which we should be doing anyway on this podcast. But you look like a tall Gimli.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's a good thing. Did you know that actor is actually really, really, really nice? I just saw it on Reddit. That's so what I love hearing when an actor is kind in a movie, but also kind in real life. Oh, it just warms your heart.
Yeah,
it does. And also, he had like prosthetics on his face to play
Really?
Gimli that he was allergic to. So they could only do like so many shots in a day for him. And he was just like, okay, can't anymore. Like his face would like break out like crazy. It was nuts.
So as someone coming from the entertainment industry, which I hated,
Ronald,
to
I don't understand what's going on.
it was a Jesus Christ reference.
Oh, okay. The entertainment.
Thursday,
okay,
but you'll be back on Sunday.
There. Okay, now I got it. I'm tracking. I am slow. You're welcome. Okay.
You've got 3 daughters. You're just tired.
You're not wrong. One of them decided she was going to break her arm this week, and so that was fun. We've had some surgery to put some pins in her elbow so that it heals correctly and stuff. Fortunately, she was not the one who also just fell out of the bed right before we started the podcast.
Oh, I thought you were like just saying, oh, she just fell out of bed like she was tired. No, she literally physically
legit fell out of the bunk bed. I'm like, okay, are we going to the ER right now again? Like CPS, they're just going to come knocking on my door. And I'm like, yeah, I was expecting this call.
I'm called Gimli. Us dwarves are violent people.
We raise them tough.
How did you break her arm? I got to know now. It's not part of the podcast. I have to know, though.
Oh, no, it's fine. This is actually our 4th broken bone in our family in the last 3 years.
Oh, good.
We were at the park, had like the Splashtown place, and then next to it was the normal playground.
Mm-hmm.
They have a zip line thing. Like it's got a little metal track that you hold on to. She hit the end of it hard, and then like went backwards and like put her arm down. This is parenting of the year. I didn't even see it. I was just like, turn around and like, what's going on over there? It's my daughter. She's broken her arm. And so like, that was fun.
Oh, you just heard the screaming?
I did. And what's fun, when we went to the orthopedic on Monday, like they were like, oh, hey, Ronald. That's how well they know us.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, Ronald, we usually do a cool thing of the week. I'm guessing that's not your cool thing, and it can be around a week. So Andy always has something cool. I usually have something, I would say, interesting.
Okay.
Sometimes, usually bizarre stuff that happens to me, and yeah. So if you just want to think about that, Andy, you got one?
Man, so many cool things have happened to me. I just live in this world of cool things.
You do. You know me.
Andy wants us to be jealous. That's what I'm hearing right
now. Pretty much. No, well, okay. So since last Thursday, I started work on The Last March, which is the 6th and final book in the Silent Champion series. Instead of binge writing like I have been the last almost year now, actually more than a year now, I'm taking it a bit slower with this one. I don't have to publish it until February. Like February is the release date. So, September. If I finish the book by October, I'll have no problem getting it, through the editorial queue and all of that. So I'm taking it a bit slower. I'm only doing about 2,500 words per writing session.
Wow. Wait. Yeah. Session, you have like 70 of those a day though, don't you?
I have 3 a day.
So
Andy, your book links like just I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Sir. No.
It's only these last ones that have been so long. Like the normal, I was actually talking about this the other day, and I was so glad to get back to writing normal length books, which is around 120,000 words. Like
as I would say,
that's like, it's just so wonderful to write short books again. Because 120,000 words, I could do that in a month pretty easily. But the last couple of books have been 200, 280. I'm trying my best to keep this one at 150. Number one, because I need it to be 150,000 to crack the 1 million word mark. And number two, because I don't want to spend, 6 to 8 weeks working on this book. I want to get it done, and move on to other projects, which I have 2 other projects that I am currently developing. Very excited about one. I actually just started sort of a new project that I'm going to be working on 1 or 2 mornings a week on the side.
I know what it is.
You do? I'm not talking about it yet.
I'm not going to say anything, but I read chapter 1, and dude, you said one line in there, and I got chills. So
which line?
The line.
When the wings come out, I was like, "Ooh, that's cool." Ooh.
I've never done something like this before, so it's definitely going to be a challenge, and I'm super excited about it. We'll see, what actually happens with it, but but it's been fun to play around in a new arena that I've never touched on before. So
yeah,
I'm excited, and I have more brain power to work on it too, because I'm, like today I wrote from say 2:45 to just after 4, 2,500 words in an hour and a half, not trying to kill myself, just get some project done. And then I had a little bit of time to play around with other stuff. So it was really nice to take it a bit slower. That's just with this book until I start making progress. And then I'll probably go, full steam ahead again, because that's the kind of workaholic I am. But at least, so far I've been able to take it easy.
I'm just going to tell him the title of your book, and it is actually Stegosaurus Stud. It's the newest in the series.
Studded by the Stegosaurus, Stevie. Get it right.
That gave me chills. So my news is a little bit weird. A lot of things have changed for me. Mostly financial reasons why I've made this decision. Because I like to be really honest with you guys. A lot of thought has gone into it. I haven't written a single word in a month and a half, just because financial things, and just trying to help my dad out, because I have a business with him, and then I have my own business. It's a self-development business that I do, and I write stuff in that. It's a daily blog post plus YouTube videos for another thing that I do under another name. And so my big news is that I have signed a contract with Jonathan Yanez, and I will be writing in the Gateway to the Galaxy series. It is we have a contract for 5 books, and they are 80% probably going to be published by Podium as well. And we will see a character much like we saw in Ace Whetstone in the Bizarre Blade series. So it's strange news, but it's really, really, really good news. I actually only read sci-fi for some reason, but I loved writing fantasy. The only thing is, it's so weird. As soon as I signed this contract, I seriously had 4 ideas for fantasy books. I was like, son of a saint. So that's just how it happens. But I'm going to implement those stories into sci-fi. And Jonathan was really cool. In fact, I can actually make it it's science fiction, but I can put fantasy things in there. And he actually asked me if I wanted to do that. And he said, hey, I heard your books are really funny. Can you please make it humorous as well? I was like, Johnny, baby, you don't have to ask me.
So you're going sci-fan? You're doing sci-fan?
It's going to be science fiction, but
no. So sci-fan is science fiction with fantasy elements like space mages or space dragons or things like that.
I'm not going to do dragons. I'm not going to do mages. When I say fantasy elements, I'm going to allow myself to create creatures. Honestly, I haven't given it much thought, but if I want to throw in a magic sword, maybe dragons. If he goes to a planet with dragons, I have this idea of how he's going to create a pirate crew, and he's going to take somebody from a different world that's a medieval world. And so it's going to be funny taking this little medieval person all around space. And he's like, oh my God, what is all this crap? None of that is permanent. I'm not 100% sure. Jonathan is kind of my mentor in science fiction. So I'll run everything by him, but Gooch Trolls in space. Heck yeah. Jonathan probably wouldn't like that though. So,
or he may love it, depending. But next week's episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast, we are guestless, so we will have some fun brainstorming ideas.
Yes, and we have 492 subscribers. Remember that at 500, we are doing something insane. So smash that scrub button. So
have you guys already decided what the insane thing is going to be? You guys know what it is, or are you just making it up as you go along?
It keeps revolving around nudity, but that's mostly on my part. So Andy will probably calm it down.
You know what? Maybe no. I was gonna say we can do the podcast in full costume, but that's kind of a small thing. I don't mind, because you only get to see like this much. So
you have to prove you're wearing pants. Is that what you're saying? You need to happen, Andy?
Yeah.
It's going to be big, and it's going to be, I don't want to say embarrassing, because then I'd be afraid that I'd have to stick to that. I really think that I should ask Collier's Conquerors, and Andy, you should ask Fantasy Fiends. Your Fantasy Fiends, that's right? Yours is called the Fantasy Fiends, right? Yeah. Ask them, and then put a poll up and say, hey, give us ideas. We'll make a poll out of it, and then we'll see what happens. And it'll probably end up us writing a dinosaur erotica short story or VeggieTale, a Erotica.
Continue to do what you do.
Oh, there's no way. That would hurt so bad.
And then get this.
Oh.
Rebecca wins for the comment of the night thus far.
God, that hurts. That hurts so bad.
And you see, it can be different types of trolls. You know what I mean? Like it could be a little tiny troll and then a big rock troll, depending on the setting of the room.
I'll just take the weapon. I'll make it a club. Okay, Ronald. I hope your kids can hear this.
That's why I've got the AirPods. Come on, guys.
So, what about you, Ronald?
I'm trying to think of like the cool things that have happened like this week. So, like I said, daughter broke arm. Other things that have happened. You guys both did writing news, so
you can go back a couple of weeks too. That's fine.
I'll take that then. Okay. No, the coolest thing for me has been to wrap up my series that I'm at thus far. So I'm at just released book 12. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a little bit. But like for me to have like 12 books on the stamp is great, and then to have my 3 trilogy all in box sets. So that for me, I'm just looking at these 3 things like, yes, this is a lot of writing I'm done. And for me, it's just a personal moment of being like really proud of like, hey, I did this, because still part-time author, like haven't dived in full force. And so it's been something, oh yeah, no, not there yet. It's been something that I'm trying to really get, work on when I have the time, right? So just to kind of see,
you've got 15 coming in this world. I remember reading.
Yeah, when I started out on this fun little process, I was like arbitrary. I'm going to make a world. It's got 5 continents. Each continent's getting a trilogy, because I knew what I was doing at that point.
Yeah,
and now I'm too stubborn to stop, right? And so I'm like, no, it's gonna happen. And so that's the plan.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've got the next series already mapped out completely, so that's cool. We'll see if it makes it to. I have to finish this one first, and that's like you guys were saying. Like I've got these other projects that I want to work on. I want to get started on the next series, but I got to finish this one first. So
yeah,
trying
exactly
patience, one at a time.
Can you tell us a little bit about your series?
Are we there yet? Do we?
This is the time. We have arbitrarily reached that arbitrary moment in the podcast.
Oh no! Okay, fantastic. The relationship got way deeper than I thought it did, and so that's fine.
People get close to us.
That's either really good or really bad. That's okay.
It depends on the day.
On this Thursday, it's a good thing. No, the series has been a lot of fun. The series has been a lot of fun for me. The whole thing started as a NaNoWriMo project back in the day when I was like, yeah, I like stories. I like video games. I like making stuff up. I'm going to do this NaNoWriMo thing. And a friend of mine had challenged me to do it. And she was like, you'd be great at this. You should do it. I won NaNoWriMo that year, and she did not.
Cool.
So I was like, okay, really? Fine. This is great. And then that evolved into my first book. And so when I was writing it, my whole thoughts were, okay, I'm going to, like I said, as I'm writing this book, I've got thoughts of, I'm not just going to write one book. I'm going to write 15 books, again, because I have a problem, I suppose. Yeah. And for me, I was thinking, all right, I want this to be a big world. I don't want to just write like a small thing. I've just seen authors write one book and then kind of drop off the face of the planet. It's like, no, I'm going to make the commitment now. That's going to be something huge. And so the series itself follows the story of Elrin, my main character. He doesn't know who he is. He's trying to figure it out. And for any of you who have read my books, first off, thank you. There are 12 of you. It's been fantastic so far. For me, this last series has been the most exciting because I've been leading people along this whole time, that the main story has been about who is Elrin, but actually we turned the corner to say, no, there's a deeper thing going on here now. And all the breadcrumbs are like beginning to pay off. I've got one guy who is like my lore manager. He does this for free. And he's like, every time I finish a book, we have a like hour-long FaceTime conversation. And he's like, did you realize in chapter 1 of this book that you mentioned this and now you're over here? I'm like, yes, I did. And so he's been just awesome, such an asset to me to help me out with that. And so to get his impression, to be like, okay, you had me, like, yes, I did it. Like, and so for me, that was a really cool thing. So we actually had our last conversation a week ago, and so it was just a really cool thing to be like, all right, this is good. Writing something that somebody's enjoying reading, I'm in. Time to go.
That's awesome.
No, thanks.
So you're up to 9 books in the Legends of Gilead.
12.
Whoa!
And there was airplanes. There was airplanes on. Was it the last one or the previous one?
The last or previous one.
Airplane.
Book 11.
Book 11. There you go.
So airships.
I've actually seen this on Facebook before. I mean, Amazon.
I have one. That's all I need. Okay, I have one.
Right, that is this. I will say that every time that I consider like getting a cover, you know, with like an insignia or a weapon on it, I look at those the Sword of Ruin and those ones, because just that color contrast with the weapon and the framing and all of that, it's like, it's what I would love to see as a fantasy reader. So I always tell people, go look at this one. Like Joe Jackson was asking for thoughts on one of his covers, and I was like, look, I think it was Daggers of Ladis that you had that purple,
I love that
acidic
purple
green, and he was doing something similar. I was like, look, go look at this contrast and do something like that.
Yeah, Joe actually reached out to me. He was like, "Is this okay? Like, it kind of looks." I'm like, "Man, it's fine. It's fine, man. It looks great." No, the covers are amazing. They're covers by Christian, who is a stellar artist, just a great guy to work with. And so he did all 15. And you're right. I mean, I paid way too little for those covers. They are amazing.
Yeah,
they are amazing.
Yeah, his cover for the one cover he did for me actually won an award because it's like he's such an awesome artist.
Was that the one I was there for?
What's that?
Was I there for that one?
For the maybe. Yeah.
You won an award when I was there.
Yeah, so yeah, it was for that.
Sexiest Man or something is what I remember.
Definitely for that.
Well, awesome. So what is the topic today?
Fate/destiny, or free will versus destiny. That's something that's like one of the most common fantasy tropes. You know, there's the prophecy of so-and-so destined to do this, or actually, funnily enough, I was just watching Carnival Row, and that's a thing there. You know,
is that good?
Oh, it is good.
Thanks. Oh, I want to watch it.
We're buddies. Okay.
And so there's the chancellor, sort of the highest level officer in the kingdom, and his wife at one point did something and got a prophecy that her son was destined to exceed his father, right? So the son of the chancellor, imagine what he could be, the king or the emperor or whatever. And of course that whole thing, you know, it shapes everything that she does over the course of the series for him, and the thing, you know, the way that she treats him and all of that. And it's just so common because it's kind of a fun thing. You can play with it like, you know, there is no way out of destiny. Somehow it's going to find a way to fulfill itself, or destiny's bullshit and we're all in control, and everything that's destiny is just kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it is a really fun trope to play with because you can do anything with it.
That's really tough. When you said that, you know, destiny's bullcrap and that we like, you know, we are in full control. Let me ask you this. What if we have a destiny, but it changes with our free will? Does that take away the idea of destiny?
Because I don't think the destiny would change in the sense of like let's say your destiny is to be purple, right? And originally, I'm just going with colors because it's easy, right? Yeah, sure. Originally, you think your destiny is to be red. But then over the course of your adventures, you realize orange is actually your destiny. And then you realize that it's actually yellow. And then it's actually green. And then it's blue. And then finally you come to the end and you find out that purple is your destiny. Your destiny never changed. You did. The path that you took to get there. So that's kind of how destiny, if that's one way that it could work, in the sense of this thing is, it's not going to change. You may not see that right up until it's fulfilled. So you may think X is your destiny or Y is your destiny. And you go through these adventures believing this, but ultimately Z is your destiny. And it's only at the end that you find it, you know?
Is this like almost like a Harry Potter type thing, right? So he thought like, okay, my destiny is to kill Lord. Spoiler alerts, guys. It's been like a decade. Okay. To think like, okay, my destiny is to kill Lord Voldemort. and survive, right? That was the whole idea. Like that's what he wants. And then it comes to like, no, you're not supposed to survive. You are supposed to kill the man. Like that's the thing. Like good guy's supposed to kill the bad guy, but you're not making it out. Right. So that to me, that gets at it as well. I don't know, either from author or from like real life sense. I like the idea of somebody going, either this is my fate and I run to it wholeheartedly. There's a cat. I run to it wholeheartedly every time. Or if it's I have this destiny that I push against and I try to do everything I can to not fulfill that destiny, right? To not be the bad guy if I'm supposed to be the bad guy. And then maybe I am the bad guy for a while and then realize, crap, I can't be the bad guy. And then you become good again. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the difference between fate and destiny. So there's a lot of explanations, but I'm going to go with Wikipedia because it's the most succinct. It says fate is about the present, where every decision an individual has led them to their present scenario.
Really?
However, destiny is the future scenario determined by decisions an individual will make. So fate is like everything's led me to where I am. Destiny is where I'm going to end up.
So the fates are the things that you have controlled, right? So this is your fate. You have made your bed. Now you get to sleep in it.
Exactly.
Right.
The results, the current results of past actions, whereas destiny is the future result of current and future actions. By this definition, of course.
Current and future actions. That's important.
Yeah.
So fate, though, what if you say I don't know what my fate will be? Then isn't it a future?
But that's just an expression.
Okay. All right. That's what I got you.
Maybe for that is you're wondering what your decisions will be, right? You're wondering what actions you will take in a certain scenario, because once you take those actions, it is then in the past, and therefore it's your fate, right?
Or the outcome. Like fate in that case means the outcome, the results, the consequences of your decisions, right? A good fate or a bad fate, right? So it is not used in the conceptual term of fate or destiny. It's more like, am I going to end up dead or alive kind of thing.
Right.
Destiny is hard for me because as I've said, at the beginning of this podcast, I actually write a law of attraction blog that I monetize. And I tend to stay away from the word destiny just because, just like this podcast, like me, I wasn't 100% sure of how people described it. And I don't think a lot of other people would know. And then you get the question, well, is destiny even a thing if we just constantly change it? But then, Andy, you said that one thing. So it's kind of confusing. But I know what I believe, taking the word destiny out, and that is that our thoughts create our reality, and using the expression, our thoughts and our vibrations create our fate, which is how our decision making is done. And it's and our subconscious puts us on autopilot as well. So, and I can explain that a little bit more if you want. Whoa, hold on. Or wondering what the outcomes of your past decision will be.
That's the referring to what your fate will be.
I'm out of context here. Hold on, let me get to YouTube.
No, my favorite comment so far has been poop on destiny. That's been good. Thank you, Anthony, for that. That's good.
Well, I kind of like that too, because, let's say you're a drug addict and your fantasy then is to die under a bridge. Well, then you could change it by, changing your vibrations, changing your thought process, and cleaning yourself up and showing self-love. But then is it really destiny? Because destiny to me is like this permanent fixture. We all have a destiny. And a lot of people, because I went to Christian schools all my life, they ask me, well, if God knows what's going to happen, why is it called free will? And that's a really difficult question to ask, or to answer.
I think you're 100% right there. But I suppose what I tell people, or what I feel, is I feel very much in control.
Yeah,
right.
Me too.
So so it's the idea of going no. I feel I am in control of this now, because I feel I am in control of this and believe I'll be held responsible for such actions. Is it not free will if it's predetermined that XYZ will happen? even though I feel like, no, I'm making this choice, I'm doing this thing. Can I blame somebody else for my choices? Like, that won't hold up in court.
Right. Yes. Because you can say, well, hey, it's my destiny. It's not my fault it happened. Right. That's in taking the description of destiny, no matter what you call it. Let's say it is that permanent fixture and you're going to end up there no matter what decisions you make. These decisions have already been made for you. Then you could plausibly perhaps say, well, none of it's my fault because it was predestined
and
by a higher power. And that's something I don't believe personally.
And that would be an interest. That would be an interesting thing in court to try to like make that argument. Like, no, it's all predestined. Like, I don't think
to get away with it.
But they wouldn't win. There's no way they would win that case.
No, so in our current legal system, no. But in like, let's say a legal system, like a fantasy legal system where the gods, the priests are the ones who control who run the laws and who pass judgment, there could be, a system established, like it could be a legal defense in this case because the gods control the destiny or whatever. But
you could write that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can get away with it because it's plausible enough that people believe it. Now, whether it's actually real or not in the context of the story, that's another way you can play with it. No, the gods actually have nothing to do. Like I played with that a little bit in The Hero of Darkness, the Darkblade Assassin, where the guy's like, we just created gods so we have someone to blame for our problems. Ooh. And in essence, that legal defense would be God, the gods of this world predestined me, it had this destiny for me, and so I did it. It's a convenient out. It's not actually real. The gods didn't do that. Whereas if the gods actually had established a destiny, then yes, he would be able to say, look, I was just doing what the gods made me do. So it's all about the actuality of what happened.
It is still interesting, like, even for someone who would say, like, I'm trying to word this carefully. Right? For someone who believes that there is a higher power and that he is in control of things, I also very much believe that I'm doing my stuff. Like, these words are my own, right? These actions are my own.
Yeah.
Trying to and even to be okay with that. I think that's where people would have a problem, because they're like, I cannot be okay with this. Understanding that, like, my actions are both my own and are not at the same time. Like, the duality of that, I think, is what people will be like, no, me 100% or nothing at all.
Yeah, it does create this cognitive dissonance if, when you have this mental push and pull between, my actions are my own, I have to be okay with what I'm doing, and yet I have this specific destiny, these actions that I have to take. It would create this weird imbalance that a lot of people, that would probably almost shatter someone's mind, or, it would cause a lot of psychological, not damage, but impact to have this struggle.
Honestly, I'm glad to finally know what's wrong with me. Like, that makes me feel better. Like, to know that there's psychological damage going on. That's good. I'm fine.
There always is.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's good. I can rest in that. That's cool.
Exactly. Well, one thing that I really like, I like watching, and I'm going to play with in a future series, is sort of the self-fulfilling prophecy, in the sense of we are the shapers of our own destiny. So, like, this character, he finds out that there's, a prophecy, or, foretold, the future's foretold that the world's going to be destroyed. So he goes, everything he does is to stop it from happening, but everything that he does ultimately leads to it happening. So it's sort of another way of playing with it, in the sense that the destiny was ultimately exactly what it was predicted to be, but he was the one who made the choices that led to where it is there.
And if he had just left well enough alone, ignored the prophecy, and said, no, I'm not, then it would not have happened. No, I love, that's good fiction right there. That'll read. Like, Steve is like really contemplating right now.
I'm sorry. Andy, can you explain a little bit more about what a self-fulfilled prophecy is?
So basically, it's something that you make come to pass. Like, let's say if you get a prophecy that you are going to die tomorrow, or let's say in a year from now, you're going to die in your house.
Okay.
So Immediately, you move out of your parents' place, you cross the country, you buy a house somewhere in the middle of nowhere where no one could find you, nothing could ever go wrong, and then you die. You are dying in the house that you bought, therefore it is your house.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a prophecy that you made come about by your actions.
So is it something that we already knew about, though?
Well, it's a prophecy. Prophecy isn't going to say, so on this day at this time you're going to die like this, right? Or prophecies, not all of them do. But a self-fulfilling prophecy is something that you bring about through your actions.
I got you.
So in your effort to escape the prophecy, you cause it. Like I was saying with this character that I'm going to write, where he's going to do everything in his power to stop his world from being destroyed. And because of his actions, his world is going to be destroyed.
And we don't tell the reader this, though, right? They find this out at the end.
Yeah. Well, Andy just did, but I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. I just wanted to make. I personally never have written anything like that.
It is freaking complex. Like you got.
I bet it is.
I have no idea how I'm going to get there yet.
Honestly, I don't think it's possible for someone who discover writes. That's probably why I haven't written it before. It's like you have to create it, then reverse engineer. Like
are you a pantser, Steve? Are you just write how it comes?
I'm probably 80% pantser over here. And Andy knows I have tried to go to the light side, but man, it is tough. I have a whiteboard that I just end up drawing on. So, but I do write down ideas. I took that from Andy. In fact, I was taking my shirt off and my pants last night, and I was thinking about Andy. Pause for effect. And I was like, man, Andy has that pen that when he writes, it turns the light on. Lisa was asleep. So I was like, damn, I don't want to wake her up, but I have a really good idea. And I was like, I really need that pen. Hint, hint, Andy.
It's
hint,
called,
hint about your AirPods.
It should be hint, hint, Lisa.
Yeah, it should. Hey, you don't want me to wake you up, do you?
You need this pen. I need this pen for my birthday. Is that it? Is that the one?
That's it?
The pilot's pen, yeah.
It looks like a regular pen. Ooh. It's like you're looking at my tonsils.
So it's got one setting that has no light and one setting that has light. And then sometimes the light doesn't work.
There we
go.
So you just keep clicking it and irritate the person sleeping next to you until...
And then they finally wake up anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing over there?
What the shit? So yeah, I've gone into the bathroom for like an hour just so that she doesn't hear me clicking the pen on and off as I write.
Oh, aren't we sweet?
I know.
We're good men here.
We're fated to have successful relationships.
Is that because of the decisions we've made in the past to have?
Exactly. That's actually a really, really good example of fate and destiny. There's the whole concept of the one, that you don't find the one, you make the one, in the sense of the decision that you make every day, every minute, every hour, to continue to make the changes and adapt and shift and accommodate and keep your mouth shut or say what needs to be said. All of these things, every decision that you make affects the successfulness of your relationship. Is there such a thing as the one? Maybe. Maybe there is someone who is absolutely perfect for you, but no matter how perfect someone is, it's never going to be 100% perfect. You have to keep making those decisions every day.
That's where I steer from maybe I stick with it. I'm not 100% sure how that will work out. I love the idea that I choose today who I get to love, and it's the wife that I've been loving for the last 12 years, right? Like, she's my one. I'm cool with this. Like, and even if of the 6 billion people, almost 7 billion people there on the planet, there is somebody who might have been a better fit for me. Like, it's cool. Like, this is my girl. I'm in with that.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so people who spend their life looking for the one often miss the one of the ones or the right one for them or whatever. So that in a way it can be detrimental to the happiness, the successfulness of a relationship, because if you're always looking for the perfect one, the perfect one you're destined to be with or fated to be with or whatever, you miss out on the person who is actually right for you or is perfect for you. Not the person you are now, the person you will be when you make the necessary changes and when they make the necessary changes and when you figure out the ways to put your life together and be the right couple. Like that's what it comes down to when it comes to relationship. And I think that's often, I'd say that's probably the best approach to destiny, or fate as well, in the sense that, you know, you are, like Ron says, you are in charge of your actions. You have to own your choices. You continue to try to make the right choices to, you know, be the best version of you can be, to find the, you know, the ways to grow as a human being. You will ultimately reach whatever the best destiny is for you. Maybe it's the destiny, or maybe it's a destiny, you know. But in the end, you had a great life. You succeeded in whatever it is that you set your mind to do. You became the person that you wanted to be. And I'd say that's probably the best form of destiny there is out there.
Yeah. You constantly bettering yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And go ahead.
I was saying, and not giving up and saying like, well, this is just who I am. The people who would say like, this is who I am, I can't change who I am. It's like, well, no, you can make yourself better today.
Oh, that bugs me to no end. I hate that.
Yeah. As soon as you start saying, this is who I am, I'm not going to change, then you're stagnating. And then it spreads and spreads, and then it just becomes impossible to live with eventually, or difficult to live with, or one more thorn in the side, or whatever. But and that's what I was going to say, is like, destiny may or may not be inflicted upon us by a higher power, you know, depending on your belief system. But in the end, you had a happy life predestined by God, the universe, Vishnu, you know, whatever it is. You had the life that was the right life for you, and that's what matters.
Awesome. Well, are we ready for the reading?
I am ready.
I'm so ready. You have no idea. So Ronald, how this works is you are the director of this show. You just tell us who is playing what. Really, it's just how many characters are there, and yeah, and just a little bit about them.
Gotcha. Okay, so in this reading that we have 3 characters that are going to be going in here. You have the main character, Elrin, who has washed up on the shore of this island and in the city called Good Harbor. All right, it's not a very good harbor. It's a really trashy town, actually. But what happened was a thief stole a locket, and the guy who was helping Elrin get better, his name is Holv Bravestead. He was trying to get out of there and trying to go help get the locket. Elrin thought, this feels right, doing something right. Maybe this is my destiny, right? To go and do things that are right. And so runs off to go help out. A buddy of Holv's, Roland, is going with him. Actually, sorry, there are 4 characters, and this is a scene where they run into Old Solstack. Old Soltack. This is one of my favorite characters because he's an old grumpy man. Holv is kind of grumpy.
Dibs.
Oh,
Dib. Okay.
I wanted that one. All right.
Okay, Andy's Old Solstack. Steve Holv's not exactly a happy guy, so why don't you be Holv? There you go.
Holv isn't a happy guy. Okay.
Not necessarily a happy guy. Think in the fantasy tropes, he's the aged mentor, right? He's like the grumpy. Okay, yeah, that guy. Roland is kind of a happy-go-lucky, and then Elrin is just trying to figure out who the heck he is. What's he doing here? What's going on? So yeah, there are.
I'll do Roland, and Steve, you do Elrin.
Okay.
Good. So
are you cool doing the narrator, Ronald?
Yeah, so I'll be the narrator, and you guys be the voices. Right. I love that. That's cool.
Okay.
All right. You guys ready to roll?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. All right. As the last few rays of the double suns faded into the mountains, Holv, Roland, and Elrin came upon the house that Elrin assumed belonged to Old Soltack. The house looked older than the hills themselves, but that roof had holes that could be seen in this fading light. A window with a pane knocked out of its long ago and had several faded rags stuffed into the hole to keep out the critters in the wind. What may have been once a garden was now overgrown with weeds that threatened to move right into the old house should the walls ever collapse due to the weight of plants crawling up its mud and log siding. A dim light could be seen from the crack of the door, as if a single candle was all the light that was on inside the home. Holv approached the door and knocked hard.
"Don't bang the door down! I saw you coming from a league away,"
said a voice from the shadows of the side garden.
"I may yet be 70 winters, but I'll not be snuck up on by the likes of vagabonds and pickpockets."
Elrin nearly jumped out of his skin. The old man stood behind a bush to the right of the doorway. He hobbled out on a cane, hunched over, yet still demanding attention. His beard grew all the way to his navel, perhaps to compensate for the lack of hair that no longer resided on his head. He walked up to the trio and looked each of them in the face. There was a fire behind those old gray eyes.
Hold, brave stead. I'll be waggered if you think you can come calling at this hour, expecting a feast and wine,
he said as he opened the door and motioned for them to come in. 3 men followed him, the old one, into his home. Holv came last and closed the door tight as he replied to Soltak.
Your hospitality hasn't changed much in the last year, Soltak. We're chasing a thief, old friend, and simply need a place to lay down our heads tonight. I've brought some provisions for us in my pack, and, well, we'll not intrude on your stores, you old greedy guts.
Holv's tone was sarcastic and harsh, but Eowyn could sense a playful tone in the gruff man's voice. All it warranted from Solstak was a simple "bah" as he led them into the first room of the house and then disappeared into another. A cloth that served as a door fell behind him, signaling to the Eowyn that they were not to follow. The floors were rough and uneven wood that may have once been straight and fine. Years of erosion under the house and what looked like much abuse had caused them to bend and warp. A single candle stood on the table in the center of what could have been a common room for cooking and eating. Eowyn wasn't sure what anything was, as there were books, clothes, and all manner of odds and ends stacked to the ceiling. Everything was a shelf to Solstak, though for most of it was not its original purpose. The old man returned to the room with a loaf of bread, a pitcher of water, and a small wedge of cheese set upon a wooden plate. He threw it down on the table, on top of various books and parchments, and let out a as he seated himself on a crate that was overturned next to the table.
Sleep where you can, you and your friends. Just keep any thief you chase far away from my house,
Solstak said as he placed both hands on top of his staff and stared square at Eowyn. He felt uneasy as he moved a book from a chair in order to sit down himself. Roland stood at the window and watched the night sky as Holv moved to sit next to the old man. Oh, this is Roland.
Oh, you're too kind to allow us some floor and roof, Soltak,
he said as he tore off a piece of bread, spread a bit of cheese on it, and offered it to the white bearded fellow. He then did this again and handed a piece to Eowyn.
And since you won't stop staring at the boy here, I'll be the one to have manners and introduce him. This is Yerlin Bolov.
Sure.
Is that right?
Eowyn Bolov.
Yerlin Bolov. I believe you've met Roland before.
Solstak grunted a response, which Eowyn supposed meant yes. Roland threw Holv a smile and a wink, and then went back to looking out the window. Holv.
I doubt we need a watch tonight, Roland, as the man would be outnumbered 3-1.
4.
Interjected Solstak through a mouth of bread.
My apologies,
said Holv, giving Solstak a mock salute.
And if you continue to stare at the boy like that, Soltak, you'll burn a hole right through him. Come on, you suspicious old goat. He's trustworthy.
Boy. Eowyn wanted to fume at Holv for calling him a young again. He wasn't young. At least he didn't feel young. He felt experienced and, well, and what? Some other word tugged at him, but he couldn't quite call it to mind. But then Holv had also called him something else. Trustworthy. What on earth had Eowyn done to earn that kind word? Sure, in the last week he had stolen no food from Eleazar and made a small talk with Holv about the various visitors to the Rusty Hook. Did Holv already consider him someone worth trusting?
Perhaps if I told you my story, you could try to enlighten us, Master Soltak,
said Eowyn, meeting his gaze. At being called Master, Soltak's eyes softened a bit, and the slightest turn of his mouth indicated a smile on his bearded face.
So far, I like him,
he said as he finished his bread and returned his hand to his staff. The tale took Eowyn only a few moments to tell, but then Solstak began asking questions to which he didn't know the answer. Holv would fill in where he could, but then every now and then he himself couldn't find an answer to the old man's questioning.
Which direction did it appear the boat was headed? How many bodies did you find along the shore? Were there other things that washed ashore that could help ascertain the origins of the vessel? Did any scrolls or parchment appear as well? What did the sails have on them? Was there any sign of battle? Had a magic gone wrong? Storms? A mutiny?
Several questions to which Eowyn had not given much of a thought to. Holv, who had been unable to answer the last round of questions entirely at one point, said,
"We found little else on the shore save..." Oh, wait. Is that Holv?
Grumpier. Yeah, be grumpy.
"We found little else on the shore save for Yerlin, some debris from his vessel, and a few other bodies. Whatever caused the ship to sink, it must have been catastrophic.
After some time, the man relaxed a bit on his old crate, satisfied with the tale.
You say you're chasing a thief, eh? Stole
Roland.
something off Elazar,
said Roland, speaking for the first time in a while. His gaze was fixed outside, and he had not yet sat down to eat. He seemed determined to watch the darkness for any signs of the thief. Or is he looking for that man at all? Eowyn thought. He had said he had news of goblins. Was that his concern as the darkness enveloped the land before him? Eowyn could not remember anything about his past, but he remembered goblins. Soltak interrupted his thoughts.
It's been far too long since I've had visitors, so you'll have to pay me for spending the night by hearing one of my stories. Which one will it be this time, old man? The Dark Comet? The Troll King who rallied the goblins? Or some other rambling we've heard at least 100 times?
Asked Roland, not looking at the old man, but still gazing out the window.
That comet's been in the sky for several years now and done nothing but inspire fear and doomsday prophecies from crazy old men with nothing better to do than make people frightened of their own shadow. Boy, you'll hear my story or you'll sleep under the stars,
Solstak said as he pointed his staff at Roland.
Easy, Roland,
said Holv with a grimace.
I've heard just as many of his stories as you have.
Eowyn wondered if the old man would truly kick Roland out of the house for not listening to a simple story. But given Roland's playfulness, he was sure that at least he was kidding. The old man, however, he was less sure of. As for the comet outside, Eowyn craned his neck at the window to see what Roland was talking about. The night had fallen now, and indeed, in the sky there was a star greater than all the others, brighter and more intense. Its tail stretched over the large portion of the sky, and its head was a deep orange, becoming an odd color of purple at the tip. What was that comet? Eowyn didn't have much time to think it over. As Soltak started talking, he did notice Holv, however, who raised an inquiring eyebrow at him, looking out the window.
No, I'll tell you a story I know you haven't heard before. The other day, I was reading through an old journal of mine for when I was sailing as a merchant for the Republic. I've heard several of your tales of adventures in the high seas,
Roland began, but Soltak cut him off abruptly.
One more word from you and I'll have you out of this house.
Eowyn was now certain the old man was serious about Roland sleeping under the stars. Turning his gaze back to what he probably considered his more polite audience, Holv and Eowyn, Soltak began his tale.
I've traveled far and wide in my younger years. I was never much for the sedentary life. I took several jobs working cargo ships that sailed from the continent of Iridan to Ruin. The voyage was treacherous and sometimes meant goblin invasions. The other day, I was looking through my journals to remember some of the adventures we had as we traded good from the two very different lands. We were a day's good sailing from the coast of Iridan when I heard a voice in the cargo hold. Not just a voice, but crying, whimpering. I went to investigate, and lo and behold, in a barrel, bound and gagged, was a young boy. No more than 10. He was handsome, but pretty banged up. He'd been through a pretty big ordeal. I took him out and tried to bandage him the best I could. He took to me rather fondly, perhaps like a father. I also made sure to save him from the glances of the more unsavory characters we took with us. Adventure sometimes calls the sick and twisted, along with the good-hearted. In the month that we were at sea, he barely talked at all, though when he did, it was with the respect and poise of a knight's page or the most skilled magician's apprentice. He was no commoner. He refused to be bathed like a child and only washed himself in privacy. He told me that he had not come willingly on the boat, and that, of course, that much he was sure of. He had been kidnapped in the hopes that his father would pay a royal sum for his return. His captors learned that his father had been killed the very night he'd been kidnapped. Figuring that without his father he was worthless, they bound, gagged, and put him in a barrel to ship him off to his death and have their names be cleared. He never got a good look at his kidnappers. Thank the stars they didn't sell him into the market to be used like a ragdoll. As I said, he was handsome for his young age and would have fetched a fair price. I assume they weren't the smartest bunch. The boy was determined to find his father's murderers and avenge him. I tried to talk him out of it. Perhaps he could sail with me instead. He would have nothing of it. His heart was consumed with the thought of revenge. He begged me to practice sword skills with him. He was already quite talented, and by the end of the trip, he could beat every man on the ship with ease. Not many threw him unwelcome glances after he defeated them in a duel, though they may have held a grudge for being beaten by one so young. After we made it to Ruin, I offered to set him up with a decent-paying job at a metalworker's workshop that I was familiar with. When the time came for us to meet the head blacksmith, the young boy was gone, vanished. I tried asking about his whereabouts, but no one knew what had happened to him. The idea of working for a blacksmith must not have been what he had in mind. I can only hope he's well. It's been 20 long winters since that fateful voyage when I ran into the wealthy man's son. I wonder what became of him. Eric Silverwind, the boy I found in a barrel.
After his story was completed, the bread eaten, and the single candle that had lit the messy and cluttered house was extinguished, 3 of the 4 occupants of the house went to sleep. Yelrin, as he laid his head down on what may have been a couch for sitting before it had become a library shelf for 3 dozen books, thought of Solstak's story and wondered, how much control does one have over their fate? And how much is decided by chance? A little boy being kidnapped and nearly killed, then fleeing any chance care he might have received. What was fate to blame for his family's death? Was he in charge of his life goals to avenge his murdered father now? And what of Yelrin? Was it fate that brought him to Good Harbor? Did fate cause a man to steal a locket? As he eyed Holv, who was sitting at the table, keeping watch in the night, he wondered what decisions he had yet to make that would be his own, and which would happen to him by chance. As he wondered, if just for a moment, what that comet in the sky meant also.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's okay. It's a pretty good part of the book. It's all right.
It's got that cool little story to it.
That's one of the things that now reading back on it, that's from book 1. I just wrote book 12. I forgot how many hints I dropped in that little short section right there that like reading back on, I'm like, yeah, okay, this has worked out fairly well. This is good. This is good.
Well, awesome, man. So if that's your first book, that's a really good first book. So
thanks, man. Yeah.
I think it was a lot cleaner than what I wrote my first book. Mine was a little bit. Did you outline it?
So my outlines, like you were saying, you're mostly pantser. I'm like 80% outliner.
Okay.
And so my chapters, when I sit down for my books, my trilogies, each chapter has a paragraph of what's supposed to happen and things like that.
It's the Andy way.
Yeah, and so this is what is supposed to happen. And so when I start to write the book, I know where we're going to end up and all this stuff. But then sometimes I have the side characters who I just like to put in my story, and I know they're going to come into it at some point, but they're just the fun ones to write. In Sword of Ruin, the Ruin trilogy, there's a goblin named oh no, I've forgotten his name now. He was a lot of fun to write, that goblin guy. Stink Runt, that was it. Yeah, Stink Runt. He was completely unscripted. It was like, you know what? Sometimes I just want to write and have it just be completely fun. And Stink Runt was that guy. So he would cause all sorts of trouble and stuff. It was good.
That sounds fun.
Oh, yeah. So, but I didn't outline the whole series when I started writing it, unlike what I've done for this next one that I've got just waiting for me as soon as I finish book 13, 14, and 15.
Dang, so you're keeping it all in the series.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to write epic fantasy, and to be epic, I was like, it's got to be long, it's got to be big, and so one continent gets 1 trilogy, 5 continents.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So maybe they could start in each continent, like a different continent. Could they do that?
No, I had. Honestly, this is me learning what to do and what not to do. When I first started writing, I had 2 separate series, and it was like, hey, this is the first series, and this is the second series that is some of the same characters on a different continent, and people who were reading it were like, why? This is confusing. Like, I don't understand this whole backstory. I'm not getting what's going on here. And other people who had written it were going, why are you reintroducing these characters? We know who they are. It's like, okay, screw it. It's all one long series. And so that really made things work out better from a sales standpoint as well as a storytelling standpoint as well.
Oh, for sure.
I got you. Well, yeah. Cool, man. So we're going to have to cut this podcast off sometime. I would love to sleep over with you guys, but I have a date with a pillow and a cat. So I was going to say pussy, but anyway.
Yeah.
Ronald, Andy, take it away from me. Take the mic,
please.
Please take it away.
Close the freaking podcast. Ronald, where can our readers, viewers, listeners, people find you?
the peeps?
So I'm on the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as RG Long Author. You can go and find me there. I respond a lot on Facebook because I am of the demographic that is old enough for Facebook. I also have a website, rglongauthor.weebly.com, because I ain't paying for that mess. That's not what's going on. So awesome. Yeah, and so that's where they can find me. Would love to hear from you guys and anything like that. Also, the first 4 books are in audio as well. And so if you click on Amazon, you go to Sword of Ruin. They are narrated by Greg Patmore, who is amazing and really brings the characters to life. You guys did a great job, I will say. But Greg's a lot of fun.
I think that was all Andy on that one.
He's calling us not professional, like low key insulting us, but
kind of, yeah. I kind of got.
It was like a backhanded compliment.
Exactly.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, it was fun, guys. Thank you for bringing my characters to life.
Oh, thank you for coming on and
man.
Letting us play with your characters.
I love playing with you, Ronald. Thank you so much, man.
Stevie,
how much innuendo can we fit into 1 hour?
Dude, that's what I want seriously, to know. I know. I was just thinking that, like, don't say it, Stevie. Don't say it. Hey, Ronald, how I really enjoyed playing with you today. I'm like, come on.
Your decisions are your own, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, you're not destined to ruin every podcast.
My fate will be to be kicked off the Fantasy Fiends podcast, and then Ronald will take place.
Oh man, rough.
Well, I bet this is different than living with 3 daughters and then coming on the podcast.
Yeah. What is this? Is it like it's like guy talk? Is that what we're doing right now? Because I'm just really
bro talk.
Bro.
No, it's a good scrote chat. You know what I'm talking about?
This is it. No,
Stevie.
my wife works at a gym, and so she's like a fitness manager, all this stuff. So I get my bro time in. I'm like, okay, what's up, guys?
There are bros at the gym, so she probably gets a lot.
Oh, and she's like, I want you guys to treat me like a dude girl. All right. So when you need advice about girls, that's fine. But in all other circumstances, treat me like a dude. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious.
That's really
married up, man.
I worked at a gym for 3 years, so I had a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that is it for this Fantasy Fiends podcast. Ronald, thank you, man. I had a blast talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thanks, you guys. It was awesome.
Andy, it was great having you too.
Thank you, Stevie, for having me on to my podcast every week. It's really a pleasure.
Coming on, gee, Rebecca's quick with this.
Yeah, Rebecca really does. She's got that mind.
It's not just me. All right, so that is it for the Fantasy Fiends podcast. We really hope you enjoyed your stay with us. Remember to hit that subscribe button because we are doing something cray at the end of this. Ronald, thanks again, man. And go check out his series. There are 12 of them, so you could probably spend a year reading all of them. And the covers are awesome. They've got really good reviews. Go check them out. You heard the reading. That was freaking awesome, especially for a first book. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's freaking awesome.
Thanks, man.
I'm talking about myself, too. Anyway, that is it for the Fantasy Fiends podcast. We will see you next Thursday, where it will just be Andy's handsome face and my handsome face as well. Good night.
Bye.
I didn't realize